carriers to develop new products, bring into the marketplace, and we want to make sure that they're competitive for agents, agency partners, and
Sure.
ultimately able to serve clients in a need that a client has.
Sure.
And so really everything that goes into product development, I won't go through everything, but pricing, coming up with benefit packages, really our
Makes a
niche
lot of
has,
sense.
it's been, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Really our niche over the last few years has been Medicare supplements. That's really what we've cut our teeth in, and the Medicare supplement space is, it's changing. Obviously, we'll
Right.
talk about that here in a little bit, but it is changing, and it's something that we got to continue to be innovative so that we're bringing new products to market that are competitive for y'all to offer, and then for the agency you work with to offer as well.
So that's a much more elegant way of what I say AIMC does, which is basically connecting people to opportunity. Because that's what you've done for us for
Right.
years, is bring us the opportunity, and we say that is a great idea. Let's run with it.
Sure.
So love that. Before we get into a little bit more information about some of the products that AIMC is, I don't know another way to say it except for just kind of spearheading and bringing to the, integrity is bringing into this industry. I want to get a little bit of your feedback and your thoughts about the Medicare supplement industry as a whole. As we know, Def Research just came out with their 2023 AEP numbers and kind of the state of the union, so to speak. And one of the things that they talked about was about 47% of beneficiaries currently have a Medicare Advantage plan, which has grown substantially from 36% back in like 2018.
Sure.
So I have a couple questions to you about like kind of you being a MedSup guy, your thoughts on that. My first question is going to be, are we feeling or finding that Medicare supplements are considered a lesser option to those Medicare Advantage plans?
I think that there's a fit for everybody for whatever product's best for them, right? And so, putting my agent hat on here, going into a home and figuring out what's best for the client is first and foremost,
That's
right?
fair, yeah.
You can't go into a home and say, you can't go into 10 homes. I'll back up and say, you can't go into 10 homes and tell me all 10 clients that you work with are MA prospects or MedSup, right? You got to really do a good needs analysis, figure out what the best product for them is, do the true fact finding that goes into really building a relationship with your client, and then recommending the best product for them. So that's really where it starts. I think, MedSup, we need to continue to figure out what makes that client tick, and then from there, let's find the best product that's going to fit into their home.
Yeah, and that's what I love so much about Medicare supplements is that within a Medicare supplement that everybody feels is standardized. There's still niches. There's still, do you want the branding? Do you want the security? Or do you have to work there via underwriting? And so even with a market that is standardized, there's still so much diversity, which is, I know, a lot of what you talk about with all the companies that you guys have brought to the Medicare supplement industry.
And it's super competitive too.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is good for clients and for agents, right? You got a very competitive market that's very price driven, and so we want to make sure that there's consistently affordable products that are out in the market.
Yeah. So I know last night we had a chance to kind of catch up and talk. I know you and I have known each other for a decade now, so had a lot. I know. A lot of opportunity to kind of catch up and talk, and something that you were talking about kind of with these behind closed doors conversations called like in the war room.
Okay.
And you said the war room was a black hole, deals go down there. So my question is kind of taking a peek, give us a little peek behind that curtain. What are some of the conversations in that war room look like to make sure Medicare supplements do keep up with the popular option, not always the best option, but the really popular option of Medicare Advantages?
Yeah, you mentioned that MedSup is standardized, but we're seeing more and more carriers figure out how they can bring a little bit more to the table, right? A plan G is a plan G, and that plan F is a plan F, plan, so on and so forth. But things like going into what Medico did, right? Going into urban, suburban areas that they felt were largely underserved when it comes to MedSup, and offering a competitive product. That's one way. Things like bringing Silver and Fit first and foremost, or bringing to the table what Allstate does with their product. So continuing to add value adds that are more than just a plan and coverage in a competitive product is what a lot of those carriers are trying to do, and almost create little niches within a space that it's hard to create niches in. So it's fun to see behind those closed doors what some of the carriers are doing to bring a little bit more value to clients.
I think a lot of focus on the customer service side on that aspect, but just like you said, the creativity that has to go into when we get in discussions of like what's the Medicare Advantage plan going to look like this year? Well, let's take money from here, put it there, let's raise the dental benefits, the amount of effort and the actuarial work and everything that goes into a Medicare supplement to make it, one thing I would mention, to make it stable.
Sure.
We know Medicare Advantage plans, and I don't want to get on a tangent about Medicare Advantage plans, but we know 2024 AEP is going to be a wild AEP.
Okay.
We know that the plans, Medicare Advantage plans, have been stable for the last 3-5 years. We know that because of the loss of star ratings and a lot
Sure.
of these Medicare Advantage plans face this year, you're going to see a raise in premium, raise in max out of pockets, drops in benefits. And those are conversations agents are going to have with their clients of saying, I said this was the right plan. It's not anymore. So I just think I said I wasn't getting on a tangent, and here I am. But I do think it's important to remember that like these plans, these actuarials work with these plans and work with you guys
Sure.
to make sure that you are bringing a stable plan into an industry. And
Yeah.
I think that's very key.
I think, any industry really changes from year to year, month to month even. And so it's just important, really our due diligence and our responsibility to clients and to the agents that we work with is to make sure that we're staying on top of those trends and then consistently making sure that we're on top of what's best for potential clients out there.
Sure.
There's, a lot of that is continuing re-educating ourselves on maybe the options that are out there, but really that's our responsibility, is to make sure that we know what's best that's out there and those changes. And you guys do a really good job at this is not a senior marketing specialist.
Keep going.
It's not a commercial, I promise. She didn't pay me enough to say all this, but it's you guys do a really good job in staying on top of that for agents. But that's just so important because things change quickly, and we know that in this industry a lot can change just by the stroke of a pen.
Very true.
So
Very true.
It's very important to stay on top of that.
Yeah. The last question I have for you before we kind of get into the opportunities that I know you really want to talk about is going to be, what do you think? Again, you work with people who are way smarter than myself, who look at these things much closer. What do you feel like the future of MedSup holds?
So there was a blog study released within the last week from Telos Actuarial.
Okay.
They said over the next 10 years, over $50 billion in MedSup premium will be written.
Okay.
That's
I like those numbers.
That's a lot of premium. That goes to say, we've always, I talk with my hands a lot, so I'll use my hands as demonstrations, but we've seen MedSup or Med Advantage on this really meteoric rise over the last few years.
Right.
And so MedSup has not been growing at that rate, but $50 billion, when you put it in perspective like that, that's a lot of premium to be written. And there's a lot of clients that are out there that need a MedSup. So we've got to make sure that we've got the right products, out there to position that.
Right.
So
speaking of the right products, this is where our team was very lucky enough to hear you and of course your partner Ted talk about what to expect and what the products that are out there and some really cool things coming down the pike. And I know we can't give away the farm, we can't talk about everything, but I bet our agents would be really interested to know what can we expect, from these integrity partners moving forward, and what's the opportunity there now?
Wow, that's there's a lot,
loaded question.
There's a lot to unpack in there. I know, from a integrity standpoint, integrity is working on a lot of different initiatives to make it easier to access new products, which is fantastic, right? And easier to really lowering that barrier of entry into the space. That's just super exciting. Things like Medicare Center, Lead Center.
Sure.
It's very easy to get in the space. But in terms of products, I don't know where you want me to go with this.
I want you to go where your heart desires. I team up for you, and you just tell me where we need to go.
Well, there's, it goes back to the agent asking themselves, what's best for my clients?
Yes.
Right. And almost finding out, partnering up really with 2 or 3 carriers that fill a few different needs and niches. So if we're talking MedSup, the top reasons that folks work with a MedSup carrier are premium, maybe brand name, maybe there's an underwriting niche or someone that's easy to work with.
Sure.
Most of the carriers, I won't go through and list all of them, but most of the carriers we work with check 2, 3, 4 of those boxes. And so from an agent perspective, you got to figure out what's best for my clients, what's going to be best for me, and then taking those 2 or 3 carriers and really making them your own and owning them, and then going into the home knowing that I'm in a position, based on the needs that I find within this client, I'm going to position either X, Y, or Z carrier. So there's a lot going on there. The whole team here can really share in detail what makes each one of those sizzle, but there's a lot of exciting ones that we're working with that are household names that have very competitive premiums, really easy to work with, some unbelievable bonuses. The list keeps going on and on.
So I know, with Aflac, you're telling me I'm just thinking about the carriers that you guys have brought to the table. And quite literally, you guys have brought to the table. And thinking of Aflac, what was that percentage of how many people or how many seniors are aware of the Aflac brand?
Well, I'm from Georgia. You're obviously from
Which is
Missouri.
very brave. We have
We-
4 inches of snow outside, which is very brave for you to brave the elements and come as a Georgia
It's
guy.
tough. It is.
Yeah.
I was texting yesterday morning trying to get out of it. I don't want to cry in the snow. But here I am. No, I say that because in the South where we are, college football is a huge thing.
I'm aware.
Right?
I'm
Every
aware.
Saturday, what do we see? We see that duck come across the screen.
Yep.
We see Deion Sanders.
Yep.
We see Nick Saban on our TVs.
Mm-hmm.
So folks know who Aflac is. The number is 87% though. It's 87% of seniors know the Aflac brand. So the value as an agent, if I'm able to go in the home and say, hey, Olivia, I'm here to talk to you about your Medicare supplement coverage. Are you familiar with Aflac? Yeah, I was just watching the Georgia or the Missouri game, right?
Yeah.
I saw the duck come across the screen. I know who Aflac is. That has a lot of really helps build a lot of trust with the client.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just very helpful for an agent to be able to lean on that brand a little bit and have one less hurdle that they've got to overcome when talking about a product, because this is a very important decision for clients to make, and they want to make sure that they can do business with someone they trust.
So I'm going to ask it again. You weren't prepped for any of these questions.
No, not
this
at
is
all.
Literally, you're in the hot seat.
I'm on the cuff.
I love it. So something we have always talked about, and any of my agents who are around for the Great Depression of 2020 or 2013, we know that Aflac had a hard first run. This is not their first time in the market. Right. And there's a lot of agents out there that tell us, don't talk to me about Aflac. It's not their first time. Tell me about what their partnership and with their partnership with Integrity and their partnership now with Aetna, how that changes things going into 2023.
Yeah, if you think of it, there's 3 parties involved. You just mentioned obviously Integrity, obviously Aflac, and then Aetna. If you think of it, those are really 3 of the strongest, best in breed when it comes to distribution, when it comes to administration with what Aetna can do, and then when it comes to brand and product with Aflac. So Integrity, obviously, we brought this product to market, and we're working with agencies and agency partners to make sure that they're familiar with how the product is best positioned. But Aetna's position in this is they're helping do all the administration. And so we use their e-app tool, their quote and enroll tool, that I think it's one of the best in the industry. I may be a little bit biased, but Aetna's got one of the best quote and enroll tools in the business.
Yes, for sure.
The only difference between the Aetna one and the Aflac one is we've got the duck up top.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So that's really where this product is going to be positioned to be successful going forward. Is that Aflac realizes they've been in this business before. Now, when you partner up with Aetna, a company like Integrity, you want to make sure that you're going to be positioned for long-term success and not short-term. And so things like bringing in a final expense product this time around is another area where they're showing their commitment to the marketplace.
Very cool. I love that. Now, again, I'm kind of hopping around because I'm asking you questions as they come up to me because I know exactly what our agents are wanting to hear. And so I know, and back when we were meeting just a few moments ago, we were talking about, going into new filing paper in new states and what that looks like. And something I have to give you all so much credit for is what you know about the Department of Insurance. You talked about what Oregon's doing, what Nebraska's doing. And we always know that Missouri is a state to deal with. We know with the Missouri anniversary rule and the complications and the financial burden that can come with the company filing in there. I don't want you to give away the farm, and I don't want you to give away, but what can you tell me about future of these products, future of these companies, especially in some of these states that, get a little flack for being a little more difficult to work with? What are you excited about going into 2023?
Well, more and more of the departments of insurances around the country are using this methodology of birthday rule, anniversary rule. So it's really become more of kind of second nature for us, that we've got to learn to work in these environments and offer a product that's competitive, but finding that balance where, you're not going to go into a state and then 2-3 years or a year or two down the road, you're going to have to raise rates, lower comp, whatever it is, to make that product less appealing, appetite for it. And so having partners like y'all is invaluable because, again, not a commercial.
Just ask me. Yeah.
But having partners like y'all is invaluable because you have your finger on the pulse throughout the state, right? And that same goes for Oregon and Nevada and all these other states where we're seeing a little bit more challenges from the department side. And so we want to make sure that we're in sync with y'all so that there's a fine balance of having a product that's competitive but has some longevity, so that we're not seeing every single year you've got to completely flip your block of business from carrier to carrier.
So I'm hearing that you actually listen to what agents, because we're the voice of the agents. You guys actually listen to what agents are asking.
Absolutely. That's one of I'm not even
That's
kidding.
that's not a thing that happens. We're just now starting to see that in other carriers being like, well, what do agents think? What's a novel idea to get, straight from the horse's mouth? But you guys have been doing that forever.
Right. It's so important that it's one of my favorite things that I do is getting around to meet with partners, meet with agents, and hear what their struggles are. I want to hear about it because we want to then take that back to the war room, right? And then as we're having these conversations with carriers, say, here's what we're hearing out in the field. How can we adjust and make sure that, we're offering still the best product out there? How can we double down on our strengths and maybe offset some of the weaknesses that are out there? So it's something that's very important, that feedback loop. I mean, because trust me, I know that sometimes it feels like folks aren't listening, but we really are.
Yeah. So one of my final questions, until I think of 50 more, it's going to be, looking, and again, Joe did ask a question, is he able to sell the AFLAC products, including the senior programs? So keep in mind, Joe, with the AFLAC contract, AFLAC also does, offer those like cafeteria style plans, those underage, the plans that are designed to be kind of the supplemental to the employer plans. These are a separate contract, but the final expense and the Medicare supplement do get contracted together. So make sure that you do have the ability to set the right AFLAC plans. Call our office. We will make sure to set you up. Make sure that you are ready to go to sell that moving forward. But the question that I wanted to ask you is essentially just an overview. 2023, big things coming. A lot of really exciting things that our team is just chomping at the bit to talk about. What can agents expect to see, both from the companies that they are currently working with, are really improvements, things like that. And I think what a lot of agents are going to be excited to talk about are those bonuses.
Sure.
Is there anything you can tell us about the so nice they pay you twice type bonuses or trips that you guys have always done amazing bonuses?
Well, it's expensive to operate your own small business.
Yes.
And that's what a lot of agents are, is they're running their own small business. And the cost of leads are going up. And so those bonuses are so important that we want to make sure that, especially as we talk Med Advantage versus Med Sup, from a comp perspective, we want to make sure that those are close enough so that you're not fully incentivized by the pay of one product or the other. And so a lot of these bonuses are there to help with cost of leads, with help just operating their normal everyday expenses. We can go into, do you want to go into specifics of any one of these?
I want to go wherever you want to take us. I think a lot of our agents would be really interested in some specifics to know, like, I've been writing these carriers. How about, what can I be doing to get paid more or do more with that?
Sure. So you'll be able to get all the specifics on every single bonus through the team here at Senior Marketing Specialist.
Call us. We have them all on our website.
Some of the bigger ones that we talk about more recently, Humana, with the Humana Chief product, it's not in Missouri right now, but it has been a very successful program in the last few years. They're paying, if you're not selling in Missouri, if you're selling in other states, take a look to see if it is available in your state. They're offering up to $325 for underwritten apps. Just a bonus on top of your comp.
Mad.
$325. That's just amazing. That's a lot of money. And Humana obviously is a great company to work with.
Always.
They've got a great brand name. We were talking about AFLAC earlier, but Humana is just as strong, if not stronger, especially in the senior space. So that's one carrier to look for. Again, not in Missouri. Maybe later this year is a company called ACE, Medicare Supplement.
About ACE.
So ACE Medicare Supplement is if you write 5 apps in a quarter with ACE, and if you're selling in the senior space, 5 apps is really, we talk about that barrier to entry. That's really a low bar.
It is.
If you think about it, but it's $250 per underwritten app, $50 per open enrollment. So a lot of opportunity there as well. And then the list of carriers continues to go on. You've got Allstate, you've got Manhattan Life, AFLAC, Lumico. They've all got their own bonuses that, they may not be as high dollar amount as some of the ones I just mentioned, but they still have some very lucrative bonuses and they're great partners to partner up with.
And have been around for a long time, especially in Missouri. You know what I mean? They're ones that they don't do this splash big incentive and then they go away into the shadows. They're constantly wanting to make sure that agents are being rewarded for what they're doing.
Right.
So let's go back a little bit to that ACE name. That's something that we do have several ACE producers on here that I see who, sell quite a bit of that. And I just want to talk a little bit because ACE is something that other people on here may be like, what are you, ACE?
Sure.
Like a tennis, what are you talking about? Let's go a little bit more detail about what's going on with ACE.
I've got a tennis story in a second.
Okay, I need
All right?
to hear it.
All right.
I knew you were a golfer. I didn't know you were a tennis player.
Well, I watch a lot of tennis, so
Okay.
that I think that makes me a tennis player
Perfect.
by default.
Got it.
No, ACE is the newest Medicare supplement that came out in the market in August of last year, and it's backed by Chubb PNC, Chubb Insurance, who's one of the largest globally traded public or property and casualty companies in the world.
Right.
I mean,
you said you were watching the Australian Open.
Exactly.
And it was sponsored by Chubb. Like, I know those guys.
Exactly. So that's my tennis story there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I stole your thunder. It's fine.
Always doing stealing my thunder. No, it was seriously. I was watching the Australian Open last night, Chubb Insurance, and it happened last year too, right? When we were about to release the product, I'm watching the U.S. Open, and similar story, and it was like, wow, I know those folks.
Yeah, they're a big deal.
When we were rolling out the product, we necessarily it didn't click for us that this is such a big deal to be able to partner with a company like Chubb Insurance with a product like ACE. And you start to look at them being the largest PNC company in the world. 93% of Fortune 1000 companies have a product with them, and they're A++ rated. I thought that was I'm just gonna look at the camera for this one. I thought it was fake, y'all. I really did. I saw A++.
Sure.
I thought it was a typo, but it is true.
That
A++
sounds like my
rating.
kindergarten grade I would give myself. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've only seen one other carrier
Really?
have an A++ rating, and that's been years ago. And
So when it comes to ACE, there's nobody bigger in terms of size and scale. And I know that we're always weary of new companies coming into the marketplace, right? I got an email this morning of another company that was leaving the marketplace, right? It happens unfortunately way too much. And so the thing to point out here, ACE is a very competitive product. You'll see it in a lot of states as one of the lowest premium rated products, but with a partnership like with Integrity and with Chubb Insurance, you got to know that a company that size doesn't go into anything lightly, right? They want to make sure that they're there and they've got staying power. So that's really the thought behind them. Hopefully we were able to get some approval here in Missouri this year. And if we are, then I think it's going to be at the top of CSG and be one of the more competitive products.
I knew that was ACE's kind of strategy was come in, be sustainable, have that backing, but be able to be competitive and turn heads too.
Absolutely.
Which is very exciting. So we do have a question, Richard, and I'm trying to read it. You may want to give me some clarifying points here, but why wouldn't Aflac offer life agents to help sell the med sup from the Aflac PNC agencies that don't want to sell it? And so just to make sure that I'm understanding your question, Richard is talking about why not allow Aflac to maybe partner agencies up and say you sell, the ancillary stuff, you sell the med sup stuff, be friends. I would think again, match up, sure, Richard. And a lot of times again, a company like Aflac is so tremendously huge.
Sure.
And so I don't want to say paperwork, but the man hours, the manpowers to do that. Plus with these companies, they expect agents you're running your own business. They want agents to give the agencies everything that they need to be successful. And so I imagine it's more or less if I say, Chris, you meet Richard, play nice, you guys are working together.
Sure.
That may not be mutually beneficial to a lot of agencies out there. But Richard, it does bring up an amazing point that having that Aflac brand and that Aflac name behind you is an excellent networking. We call those strategic partnerships to be able to go out and say, hey, agency, you represent them on this end, I represent them on this end. Let's work together. It's a great door opener to building those strategic partnerships.
It is those affiliate marketing relationships, affinity marketing, whatever you want to call them. We're seeing that more and more. That's a great idea. Yeah. I think more folks need to do that.
Useful. I'd split commissions. Richard, I like your style. I can appreciate that. I think it's a great idea.
True businessman.
I love it. He's like, listen, I know what it takes. So Chris, I do want to go ahead and say how much we appreciate you coming into our office today and you speaking with our agents, being I give you a lot of flack for it, not Aflac, I give you a lot of flack for it, but you are truly an industry in this, or a monster in this industry, somebody who's incredibly well known for your knowledge. And so I can't tell you enough how much we appreciate it, how much our agents appreciate it, especially with just the industry at it where it is right now and what's going to happen with med sups. I think it's very fair to say that med sups are going to be okay. And I think we're going to see med sups take a pretty tremendous comeback in the upcoming years.
Yeah, you have to think that there's going to be some sort of balance going forward, but it's it'll be exciting for the next few years. I mean, this industry is it's definitely seen change over the years, and we've always
Yes.
adapted and overcome. So
Very true. Very true. Well, if you guys have any questions about making sure that you have the right med sup in your market, the right med sup that fits your selling style and your clients, make sure you call our office. That's truly what our team does, is they match you up with carriers that make sense to you. They don't match you up and just get you to sign contracts for
sure.
the sake of signing contracts. That wastes everybody time. We do whatever we can to help you be successful in this market, in this industry. Call our office. Our number here is 1-800-689-2800, or feel free to go ahead and visit our website, which is smsteam.net, not .com, smsteam.net. We have a live chat option. You can go ahead and scroll and see all those Medicare supplement companies that Chris was talking about. They're on our website as well. So make sure that you are set up and prepared to make the most out of your 2023 selling year. So thank you guys so much again, Chris. Appreciate you.
Thank you, and thank y'all.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys next time. Thanks again.